Okay, let me set a timer. Okay, now I'm ready to roll. Okay, prompt this week's focus on defining ethics as a group, exploring how ethics shape leadership and how ethical behavior is reflected in public leadership. I'd like to, I get a still from what I wrote in my chapter 9 response. I wrote about Donald Trump, and I'm sorry if any of you guys are Republicans. But I wrote like when he was first, campaigning and stuff, and he had that when they broke a story about him in one of those trailers talking about how he wants to grab women's parts. I kid you not. As soon as he got elected, we literally had a string of events where it was in the newspaper, it was in the news, where people were driving around or yelling that exact phrase to women as they're walking by or harassing them.
Oh.
And saying, yeah, this is okay. Our president does it. Why can't I do it? And then the same thing with I was hearing, because up here we got a lot of vineyards, and generally it's the Hispanic population who is picking the grapes. Well, people would also see him walking down back to their cars and would yell, "Go back to Mexico," or do crazy stuff like that. So I feel like his leadership, being in the public eye, although those people are just complete idiots and just like to blame it as that. Ultimately, in the end, it's your own ethics and morals, I think. But I think those people thought it may have been all right because, this person who's in charge of the biggest, strongest country is doing it. Why can't we do it?
And I thought it was interesting, too, to that, for that example, talking about the challenges and the components of ethics and ethical leadership. And there was something that stuck out to me in the reading in the book, and it talked about how virtues are acquired through observation and imitation. Right. So like you just said, if they see a leader doing this, they are going to think that they can do it as well. That's why there is so much writing on you as a leader. The president obviously is a big example, but even as a leader in your work or at school or a peer group, you really have to be careful with what character you are showing, because that's what they are going to look at as what they need to do. Monkey see, monkey do. And, you just have to be careful. So.
Right.
And it does go back to everything that we learned, back in our childhood, where it's like actions are louder than words. So true with the ethical part of leadership is you can say all the right things, but unless you're actually doing those things and showing your followers how to do what you're saying, your minds will not say anything.
Right. Exactly. You gotta walk the walk.
Exactly.
Yep.
I used an example that not so long ago, it was in the news. I think it was somewhere like around here in LA. There was this young manager at Boost Mobile or T-Mobile, and she ordered pizza for her whole entire employees, right? And actually the Domino's delivery guy brought the deposit money with him accidentally and left it, for pizza. And she was like, whoa, what is this? It was like thousands of dollars. She called Domino's and let them know that, hey, I think this is your deposit money. And if who do I send this to? Someone wants to pick it up. She immediately let them know and called the cops too. And I think that showed her integrity, and it showed her employees that, she walks the walk as well. And that's like a good someone that you can follow and see that she's doing the right thing. Not just keeping it and maybe not saying anything to anyone, but I thought that was a good one.
I agree.
Good.
No, I was just saying, I agree. I remember reading that somewhere in the paper about that. And that is,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
it would have been very easy for her to just be like, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another good one to piggyback off that is Brian Krisnich, a CEO of Intel. He's pushing, and he pretty much quotes the fact that, you know, there's enough talk about diversifying organization stuff. I'm actually going to follow through and do it. And he announced a $300 million 5-year plan to help bring his workforce to full representation, which includes like $4,000 employee referrals. And actually, he's decided to donate $5 million in a partnership with Oakland schools to help increase computer science curriculum.
Oh, wow.
He's actually increased. His original goal was 40% for the year is what he was hoping to get, and he's actually in 6 months increased it to 43.3 diverse new hires.
Wow.
You know, I mean, that's just awesome. You know, he put his money where his mouth is, and you know, he obviously notices that diversity is an issue and it needs to be attended to, and he put out a plan, came out with a plan, and it obviously seems to be working.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, I mean, there's so many studies that do show if your company represents its community, it does better. You know, so I like what he's doing because I think more leaders need to do that. And it's the ethical part, going back to that, you know, it is the right thing. And sometimes it's not an easy thing to do the right thing. I mean, you know, like to get to diversify to that level that he's going, and that's a task.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
just this week, I read, I think it was CNN that brought the news that the CEO of Starbucks, Schultz, is actually hiring either 10,000 or 100,000 refugees.
Jeez. Yeah,
and so
I saw that.
he got a lot of backlash for that, and people are already, you know, like striking, going on strike, saying, no, what about all of the veterans, and what about all the people that we have here? But it's funny because to me, the ethical part for him is what he preaches and what the values of Starbucks are, he's doing. He's done, you know, he brought work for them. He's doing the education program. And everything he does, the end result, it like what he said, it happens.
It happens. And it's interesting because there was a lot of backlash about the refugees, and people kept saying, what about our veterans? What about our veterans? Well, if you actually go back and look, and I say we, so Starbucks, we made the initiative to hire 10,000 veterans by the year, I want to say it's 2018, don't quote me, it might be 2020. And we're already over 7,000 hired.
Yeah,
I've seen it work in my store. So, and it's hard though, because we, you know, as partners, we don't want to try and educate the customers in that way. We just kind of let them say their piece. But he does. And one thing that I love about working for this company and being under Howard Schultz as a CEO is when he says he's going to do something, he does it, like we said. Yep. And one of the biggest concerns when, you know, with this most recent election, a lot of people were worried about their healthcare benefits and what was going to happen. And that is one of Howard's core values, is making sure that healthcare is affordable, whether you're a 40-hour-a-week manager or whether you're a 20-hour-a-week student. And he sent a letter to all of us and said, please do not worry. I've told you that this is important. If you do lose health coverage because Obamacare goes away, for example, he said, you will not have to wait until the re-enrollment period. We will find you health coverage in as little as 30 days. We will figure it out. So, you know, it's just another one of those things where you're, you know, influencing others. And I think it's pretty interesting, even just being in this group, how many of you have referenced Howard Schultz working, you know, with Starbucks, because he is, you know, one of those leaders. When you see him in the public eye and with public relations, I mean, even as a non-partner, you see, hey, they're actually doing what they say they're going to do. So,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, on the flip side of that, have you guys, I'm sure, heard about the CEO of or Volkswagen, where they were installing these chips that were falsely reporting emissions being passed?
Oh,
Yes.
Well, I
Yeah.
was reading that guy, Martin Winterkorn. He, I guess, was very, very, hard driving perfectionist, and then he is all about the bottom line. And I'd imagine that culture there was just, a very tense. And I'm sure when the engineers noticed, because if I remember right, the engineers knew, and then they just quietly let it go. I'm sure the fact that they were probably scared out of their damn mind to go to this guy and tell him, like, hey, this totally backfired, did not work, is partly the reason, well, why he doesn't have a job anymore, because they were afraid to come up to him and be like, we messed up. Now we're going to have to tear these all out, take a loss, and start from scratch, because this did not work out. And ultimately because he set a culture where he's intimidating, obviously, and doesn't have so much of an open door in policy to let you learn from your mistakes, which is another good sign of a good leader, is ultimately it cost him his job, because the engineers, rather than coming to him and confronting him, let it go, which cost Volkswagen millions in lawsuits and whatnot.
they don't see the end result being something. If they would have dealt with it way before, it wouldn't have been as big as it was, as it turned out.
Yeah,
The
and that
same
happens
thing
a lot.
Yeah, with Toyota, the brakes. I mean, that was a big
Right?
thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Mhm. Yep. Well, I thought it was interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
No, I thought it was interesting, when we talk about, that leader must have been in a position where, people felt like they couldn't come to him or whatever the situation was. But as I was reading the chapters and looking at the challenges that come with being in public relations, or the ethical leadership piece, managing information, the responsibility, the power, the privilege, the consistency, the loyalty, and then going into the components, all of the moral sensitivity, motivation. There's so many things that it's like this recipe where we really have to have the right amount of each so that you can get the best outcome. It can't be, I can't imagine. That's a lot of pressure to be in
I
that
think
position.
you also have to surround yourself with people that are going to support you in that way.
Mhm.
Because if you're trying to hold that all on your own, there's no way you can do it. You need a team that you can trust, that when you're not in the office is going to
Yes.
make those same decisions as you are, or or call you or let you know, and not try to hide things. And that's important. I feel like that it's the team piece as well that you have to.
Absolutely. Well, and it's how, and that'll be there with how you influence them, and if they are wanting to work for you or with you, or how it is. So you're absolutely right. It is it's definitely important to have that support.
Yeah, I think, we're at 13 minutes, so we're good. Are you guys? Anybody else want to say anything? Are we good?
I think we're good.